That heifer right there just don't even care.
Save yourself now.
Action.
Hey,
What do you say, folks? Hope everybody having a fine Sunday evening.
Resurrection Sunday.
Yep. We got Pastor Larry gonna bring a little message this evening, kind of.
Keep
What?
our little tradition going.
Yep. I think Gretchen's not with us. This our
I think it's our
third year. I think.
Yeah. Isn't it, Pastor Larry?
I believe-
Y'all correct us if we're wrong.
But yeah. And after requests from everybody last week, they said, "Hey, let's do a live chat." So here we are.
Maybe slightly delusional, but here we are.
Yeah. We'll fill in all the fine details later on. But we've had a pretty eventful week. This and that. Pardon me. You run through here and holler at some folks right fast. Let some others get on in here, and I imagine might be slim pickings with folks this evening. You got your in-laws and
family thing.
well, you got the in-laws and the outlaws in,
Like clashing.
you know, this and that. So hope everybody hopefully somebody at least cooked a good supper. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. But Mr. Randy, it's good to see you, sir. Chris, good to see you, man. Keith Spillman and Miss Michelle up there in that fine country. Appreciate y'all. Eric out there in Colorado. Mr. Roy, good to see you, sir. Who else in here? Oh, Mr. Mike Tangway. Mr. Russell Amon. And have we got some thank you? Thank you.
We got all kinds of praise reports tonight.
Yeah.
We got a few on a few different levels too.
Miss Ann, good to see you there. Lee, God love him.
That man has the patience of a saint.
Especially dealing with this one right here. And I'm talking about myself kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because once again, I called him at the last minute. Look, Lee. Or I texted him, I need a hand, Bubba, if you got a minute. He said, gotcha. But let's see where that is. So we got Lee, Mr. Russell Amon, Keith Spillman, and Mr. Dan Weaver. Good to see you, sir. And well, we got Miss Leona in the background
Our
as
favorite
well.
Miss Leona.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all didn't catch her video debut, y'all should go do it because that lady rocked it.
Indeed. Mr. James Knowles, good to see you, sir. Jack and Danae. Heard the good news on y'all's end, and we're going to spread the word here
two
shortly.
of our praise reports.
Kind of let everybody else meander on in. It's going to get in here, but yeah, if y'all wasn't able to catch Hallelujah Bee Farms premiere a few minutes ago, I highly suggest you go back and check it out, especially if you didn't go to the expo kind of thing.
It was a very cool video.
But I got to say, folks, 2 thumbs up on showing Miss Leona some love there.
Yes.
That was awesome. I'm not going to spoil the video. That's all I'll say about it. But it's good to see brothers and sisters in beekeeping loving one another.
Absolutely. Say hey to Philip out loud because he's driving.
Well, Brian and Jen come in first, so I got to holler at them first. It looks like Philip.
What's wrong with you?
You be careful on that road, especially them Texan roads. Good grief.
They drive like crazy out there.
There's a bunch of maniacs on that highway out there. I know Philip, he's obeying all traffic laws.
At least the traffic minimums.
Staying in the gray area. Yeah. PJ, good to see you, brother. Appreciate you, man, dropping by. But we're gonna kind of rock on, I guess. Pastor Larry's gonna bring a bit of a message, and we're gonna talk about bees up there in their neck of the woods, and we'll get into
Update.
what we got happening going on around here. We're actually doing some beekeeping now. So,
Did. Yep.
But y'all, if there's anybody we need to add to, or got a praise report, I know she said we got several praise reports this week, but we'll save them for until you get done reading the list.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing. And we'll go from there.
Okay.
Mr. Russell, Miss Sharon, good to see y'all. Appreciate you.
Okay. Yep, Mr. Martin, Miss Crystal, Mr. Pat, Miss Deb, Mike Tangway and his family, DC's mama, Philip's mama, his friends BJ and his wife, our favorite Miss Leona, Steve Amos's father-in-law, PJ Hanley, Sarah and her family, Mr. Randy's mother-in-law, Miss Janae Wood, Kenneth and Chris Wilkinson, Redfish's wife, Miss Janet, Kenneth Allen, Rodney Middleton and his family, Dan Garrison's daughter, Miss Jolynn, Clay Bunner's grandbabies, Keith Larimore's cousin, Russell Amon's wife, Miss Brenda, Lee's mama, Miss Brenda Johnson, Keith Barnhill and his family, little Emma Hoskins, Greg Dunn, Phil Kent's mama, Mr. Russell Cookman's granddaughter, Tim's brother Jamie, Mr. Dan and his church, Shaw Wee, Jen's dad, Gary Stewart, Castle Hives Brian and his family, Blaine's great nephew, Haley Baker, Lee's cousin Stephanie, all our nation's service members, Shauna and her family, James Knoll, Keith Larimore's mama, my brother Jacob, James Pell, Justin Jenkins, Bucks B's wife, Allie Baker, Marty from Yes Honey, baby Lucas' parents Zach and Kiera, Lee's wife Miss Renee, DC's friend Miss Bree and her daughter Ivy, Jason his family, Russell Amon's cousin Ricky, Clay's daughter Allie Bunner, Sarah's son-in-law, and Tim's mama Miss Mary. And then I hope y'all noticed a couple of names were missing on there. So Jack's uncle is home from the hospital and doing much better. Danae said he can come off the list, as well as their daughter Sakura that just had the baby that we've been praying for. She's home, Danae said. Her blood pressure's back under control. And then the most awesome update from their family was the baby's gained, I think she said, a little over a pound, and he's doing so much better. She said they're shooting for, like, in the next 2 weeks, maybe the baby can come home. But either way, he's improving. That's the main thing. So lots and lots and lots of happy news to go around there.
Indeed.
For sure.
It's good to be able to remove the names off the list, kind of thing. Good Lord knows all the needs, and according to His will.
For sure. I was so happy to hear that, especially about that baby getting better. Yeah, she correct. Did I not say 2 weeks?
Well, she corrected you on live
I'm
TV.
sorry if I messed up.
Either way, go get her, Danae.
Around 2 weeks, maybe baby can come home. Lord willing. So we're going to keep praying that.
holler at me in the evening time about.
I didn't holler at you. Oh, you're doing good, Mr. Roy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Yep.
But
And then, what else do we have? Not near as big and happy news as the baby. Not trying to take away from that by any means, but it was a big deal for me that I got to play in the bees, and I held up, like my back held up playing in the bees. We went through all our colonies the other day. First time since I fell.
10 months.
So that's my happy. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah. I got to play in the bees. There was something else.
Oh, well,
Miss Leona's doing better.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else.
You done derailed already. We ain't even got started good yet.
Told y'all slightly delusional. Yeah, I know.
But
I know.
We're gonna bring Pastor Larry in and let him give us a message for this time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And
the real reason we should all be eternally grateful.
Indeed. And then we'll get into some beekeeping in their neck of the woods. I'll let y'all know what's happening here. And
Lee fixed your flag.
Thank you, Lee. You must have heard me fussing before I smashed that go live buttons. I told her the flag is not up for whatever reason. I think StreamYard got it out for me for bad reviews. Moving on.
Let's bring our sweet guest in.
Let me get them in here. Make sure I smash the right button. Don't kick them off. There we go. Gotcha.
He fixed it as you were pressing live.
Well, good evening. We made it back this time. Yeah, I told them I've been accused of being buttons too. I'm getting dangerous with buttons. That video that we put on with Miss Leona's debut, you wouldn't believe how many hours I've got in that little 13-minute video.
Yes, sir.
Because of things I did and messed up and had to redo them and didn't know there's probably a lot shorter way to do them. But anyway, we got it there. That's the main thing. We will survive.
We all pick up on things at our own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And with technology, y'all know as well, Pastor Larry, we in the same boat, my man. We'll figure it out, but it may take us a minute to get there, but we'll get it.
Yeah.
Tim is my inspiration because when I struggle with something, I just not say, hey, Tim makes it every week online. And most of the time he makes it all the way to the end, still on the screen. Even if it's second try, it's still on there. I said, he's been doing that for quite a while. So I've always looked at things. I said, hey, if somebody else can do it, I can do it. So you inspire me, Tim. I keep on trying. If I mess it up, I say, hey, it's just a button. We'll go back and try again.
I appreciate you thinking about me on that. Yes, sir. And, you know, I was going to say my service is free, but if I keep getting all these good compliments, I'm going to have to start charging people for all this information I got in the brain up here.
Don't go getting the big heads.
All right, Pastor Larry, the floor is yours whenever you're ready, and kind of take over there.
Caveman can do it.
That's it. I'll fix that. Well, so easy, caveman can do it.
Looking words right out your mouth.
You know, Lee's what makes us all look good anyway. If it weren't for that, we'd be long gone off air if it wasn't for Lee.
You're right. That's hilarious.
That's the highlighted comment for these.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, he either puts up with us or something. But anyway, we appreciate Lee. He does make everybody look good. But we thank him. Yeah, I do have a little bit of message to share today. I've been up. I got up early. I'm always up early on Easter, but I love talking about the resurrection. So many things that we can talk about, but you know, that's the very cornerstone of what we believe. That's, as a Christian, without that, we don't have anything. I mean, we don't have any faith. We don't have any hope. And that's what I'm going to share a little bit, just a few verses tonight about the risen Christ as beginning our hope. And so Yeah, I was up this morning. I usually do a sunrise service. I was going to do one online. I mentioned it last week, but where I usually do it, I get bad reception, and I had a terrible time last time, and they were calling for rain and cloudy weather this morning. So I just went back to my 8 o'clock service. So, but I was up and ready. I was dressed and ready. As a matter of fact, I was up there when the sun tried to come up anyway. I did my own sunrise service this morning, but yeah, it's been good. Been online and then went to church and had and got to share. But I want to share something that's going to come from 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I want to read a little bit of scripture, then I want to talk about a few things. Just really dealing with the hope of the resurrection, because like I said, that's our anchor. I mean, that's our cornerstone. And so this is probably the greatest day we have as Christians to celebrate. I don't know of anything that's any more important than the resurrection. And so Paul wrote a lot in that whole chapter about the resurrection, but I want to read from 1 Corinthians 15, beginning in verse 12, and I'll just read down through verse 19 of this section of what Paul was talking about, and he's talking about our hope, really. So let me read that first, and I'll share about 4 points with that. So now if Christ has preached that he has been raised from the dead, how do some among you say there is no resurrection of the dead? But if there is no resurrection of the dead, then Christ is not risen. And if Christ is not risen, then our preaching is empty, and your faith is also empty. Yes, and we are found false witnesses of God. All talking about if the resurrection didn't happen, because we have testified of God that he raised up Christ, whom he did not raise up, if in fact the dead do not rise. For if the dead do not rise, then Christ is not risen. If Christ is not risen, your faith is futile. You're still in your sins. Then also those who have fallen asleep in Christ have perished. If in this life only we have hope in Christ, we're all men the most pitiable. But I got good news today that he has risen, and that resurrection is real. And so we're not without hope. We're not still guilty when we put our faith in him. And so all of these things, but he was saying, if some were saying at that time that it didn't happen. And so I want to look at just a few things about that part of the scripture and about this whole resurrection story that we see that gives us hope as a believer, as a Christian, and starting with the death of Jesus, that very experience. And so we got historical records that come from both the Christians and from non-Christian circles that confirm that Jesus was executed by crucifixion. There are many eyewitnesses to the fact that, he was nailed to that cross, the accounts that we have of the crucifixion. And there've been some other theories around and kind of thrown out there, but most of those have been rejected or debunked along the way. So even from a lot of non-Christian sources, they pretty much have confirmed that Jesus did die upon that cross, just like the Bible tells us. And then we come to that empty tomb that is so important. And so 3 days after the burial in the tomb, it was found empty. So what's so special about that? The location, the resurrection was preached when they began to go out and proclaim that he's risen. It was preached in Jerusalem, the very city that he was buried in. And so if that tomb, they said the tomb is empty, that he's risen. If the body was still in the tomb, then the Romans who were thought they were responsible anyway for nailing him to the cross, and those that were saying, there is no resurrection. If he was still in that tomb, it'd have been easy for them just went to the tomb and say, hey, look what we got. We've got proof. He didn't rise. Here he is. Here's his body. But there wasn't a body to find. There wasn't anything for them to find. All they found was an empty tomb. And there were a lot of witnesses to that empty tomb. And so the first reports that came about this empty tomb, I think is important too, because it came from women. Think back to that first century, a woman's testimony, it wasn't legally valid in court. They didn't hold a lot of weight in society at that time. And so if the disciples were going to concoct a story to try to get people to believe it, they wouldn't have chose women to deliver that message, because they know that they couldn't even go to court and testify. Their testimony didn't really hold any weight. So if they were going to come up with a story and try to pretend like it happened when it didn't happen, that's the last people they would have chosen, but that was exactly who Jesus chose to deliver that message. He said, "You go tell my disciples and tell Peter." And so the women began to deliver the message of the resurrection of the empty tomb. And so that in itself speaks a lot when you look at the culture and the time that they were in. And probably one of the most important things I see were the eyewitnesses of the appearance. We know that when Jesus came forth out of that tomb, he spent 40 days here still on earth. He was seen by several different people and several different groups along the way. And I spent quite a bit of time over the years going back and just looking at that 40-day period, because it's so intriguing to me that he spent, 40 days still here. And in that resurrected body. And there's so much meaning there, so many things that he did. We don't know. We've got little glimpses. The Bible gives us some scriptures of, some of the meetings, some of the conversations he has, but there's no doubt, we don't know the vast majority of what was said there among the disciples, among the followers, and even to those who were just onlooking, even to the doubters, to the mockers. They saw him in real life as well. He appeared to many. And so that 40 days, I think, was a very important time. And so, he appeared to Mary Magdalene, to Peter, to small groups, the disciples on the road to Emmaus. And even it records that even to a crowd over 500 at once that he appeared to. So there were many that were eyewitnesses of Jesus during that time that he spent. I think one of the things that I see when he was risen was, if you go back and look at those disciples who, had followed him so close, they didn't understand what he was saying when he said, I'm going to have to die. I'm going to have to go. But when I die in 3 days, I'm going to rise again. At the time, they didn't understand that. When they actually see him die, the only thing they knew was the one we thought was going to come and fix all our problems. We just watched him get crucified on a cross and a horrible death and put in a tomb. We saw it and it's sealed up. Our hope is gone. And then probably their next thought is, if they did that to him, what are they going to do to us? And they found him hidden away when Jesus shows up. They were hiding away, probably worried about their own self. So they'd given up on that. But when Jesus appeared to them and they saw the power of the resurrection, those things, I believe, probably flooded their memory that he had already said to them. You know how somebody tell you something, you kind of listen to it, you maybe hear it, but you don't really catch hold of it. Then something else happens down the road, and all of a sudden you remember, oh yeah, that makes sense. I believe they had a lot of those moments when they saw him in the flesh, when they saw Jesus, the risen Christ, the one that they had given up hope on, the one they lost all hope of anything ever changing. And now they see, and now they remember those times when he told them, in 3 days, I'm coming back up. I'm coming back out. So all those things he told them something very important that the last one we'll get to in a minute. But he said, I have to go away. But when I go away, I'm going to send another to you, talking about Holy Spirit. He said, and the Holy Spirit's not going to be able to come until I go. And so all those things he had told them, and they're like, this doesn't make any sense to us. You're the one in charge. You're the one we're following. They watched him every day. They followed him. He did miracles. They messed up. He come straighten out their mess. They do it wrong. He come pull them aside and teach them. And it was an awesome relationship. But when they saw him in that tomb, they thought all hope was gone. And sometimes in life, if the resurrection isn't real, if we don't catch hold of what the resurrection really means, it's like what Paul had written in the scriptures that we read. If the resurrection didn't take place, we're all without hope. We're just a pitiful bunch of people. We don't have a reason to be having this conversation. We didn't have a reason to go to church this morning. We don't have a reason to have any faith. But because we know that he did rise, that tomb was empty, that he was the resurrected Christ, and he did appear to them and so many witnesses for 40 days. And then they see him, as he said, as he's taken up into heaven to go sit at the right hand of the Father. And the angels proclaim, just like you saw him go up, he's coming back. And something else to that about the resurrection that is so important is that it proves everything that God had said in his word about this Messiah that was going to come, about the one he was going to send to restore the relationship. The whole Old Testament told it all the way through. the Old Testament prophesied about Jesus, and if he could have made it all the way even to the cross and endured the cross that paid for our sin. They put him in that tomb, but until the resurrection, if he'd never came out of that tomb, then everything would have been in vain. Everything would have been void, because that's not what he said all through the Old Testament. They testified of the fact that he was going to rise. He testified that he was going to be, the hope that we have. And so when he came forth, that put a stamp on. And you think about all the Jews that were there. They knew the Old Testament. They knew the law. I mean, they were versed in that. They knew all these stories. And for them, when they realized the power of the resurrection, I mean, it's like the stamp of approval put upon it, that God did exactly what God said he was going to do. And it was like the receipt that was turned in. Okay, it's paid for now. Here's the receipt. It's paid in full. All that you couldn't pay for, that debt that you owed for sin, it's paid for. And so when Jesus shows up in the flesh again in that resurrected body, it's just like giving them the receipt for it and showing them, here it is. Here's the proof. You go in to carry something into the store. They want to know, you got a receipt for that? Can you prove that's been paid for? Can you prove you bought that? And can you prove that you're taking it out of the store? They want Walmart to stop you and want to know what your receipt looks like. Are you sure that's yours? You sure you paid for it? And the resurrection is just like that receipt that we have, that God said everything is paid, and it's paid in full. And so one of the other things we see, the last point I'll talk about, is the transformation of the disciples. The things that the transformation we see, because we remember that, and this is probably one of the strongest evidences we have of the resurrection, because I think I already mentioned that Jesus said, I must go away so that I can send Holy Spirit to you. And then he also says there in Acts, he said, you're going to receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you to do what? To be witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the uttermost parts of the world. You're going to have power to do what I've already told you need to do. Matter of fact, it was so important. He said, don't go anywhere until you receive that power. It's the promise that he had given. And so those same disciples that we had talked about, they followed Jesus. They watched him do miracles, and they even did some things their own self. But when they saw him being arrested, when they watched him being crucified, when they watched all the horrible things we see described, watched him being put in that tomb, little by little, it just ate away at that faith that they had, that this is the one that's going to save us. This is the one, because their picture was so different than what Jesus was actually going to do. Their picture was that somebody was going to come and sit on the king's throne, an earthly throne, if you will, and kick the government out. Sometimes we like to see somebody show up in our government and just kick some people out and just take over. We'll make things right. That's what they were looking for. Somebody to come in and just make things right. But Jesus had a greater plan, of course. But in the midst of that, as we already talked about, they began to fear. They began to doubt all those things that they had been told, because they didn't have a good understanding of it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't really point a finger at them, because if I'd heard something like that for the first time, when we sit here and talk about the resurrection, I can't wait every year to talk about the resurrection. But for them, they'd never seen that before. That's something brand new to them. And for them to see the one they got all their confidence in and say, well, somebody's going to kill you, you're going to be buried, and then you're going to come back, it probably didn't make any sense to them. But here's what happens following the resurrection. When they witness the power of the resurrection, that's why it's so important that we understand that what Paul was saying, that if there is no resurrection, like some were saying, we don't have anything to stand on. We don't have any hope. But because there is a resurrection, because Christ is alive, because he's still seated at the right hand of the Father, because his promise still is he's coming back for those who are ready for him when that time comes, because of all these promises that have been fulfilled, Christ's resurrection just proved all those things the Old Testament had been saying. So now we have no reason to doubt the things he says about the future that's going to take place. And so now the same bunch that had seemingly lost their faith and everything, when they witnessed the power of the resurrection, that 40 days that Jesus spent with them, and they stood there and watched him ascend to heaven, and his angel said he's coming back like he went. And then the most important thing, they listened to what he said. They didn't depart. Holy Spirit comes on the day of Pentecost, and they did receive power. And so now what do you see? The one that denied Jesus, Peter himself, who actually denied, saying, I don't even know the man, even though Jesus knew that, that relationship was restored during that 40 days with Jesus. And now what do you see? He's walking in so much power. People wanted him to walk by that even his shadow would pass by them, that they'd be made well. They'd bring the sick people and line them up in a line and say, we want just the shadow of Peter going by. That's the kind of power they had everywhere they went. Then they began to persecute them. And of course, we know most of them gave their life. Most of those were martyrs, ended up giving their life for serving Christ. We see them operating in power. When persecution came, what did they do? They had to go to different places, but everywhere they went, what do you read? Everywhere they went, they were preaching the gospel, and miracles were taking place. Bodies were being healed. The same miracles that Jesus was doing was taking place. So we see the transformation in those who could not even endure to make it through the process of this crucifixion and without losing their faith. But now, because of the resurrection, we see them standing as bold as they can be, proclaiming. Peter stood up on the day of Pentecost and preached the message, and 3,000 people got saved in that one message. I never had that to happen. Love to have that experience. But he had the boldness that he preached on the day of Pentecost itself, the one that denied him. So we don't have an account of all of them there, but that transformation is what's so important. They went from cowards, if you will, to martyrs. They went from fear to walking in faith and in power because of that crucifixion, because they realized that. So, and one of the other things we see, people, they laid down their life for this cause, and people don't usually lay down their life for something that they believe is not true. If it was a made up story, I don't see very many people putting their life on the line and willing to surrender their life for something that was made up. If it was a story that they just created. So they knew it was true. They witnessed the power of the resurrection, and they were willing, if it took their life, to do it. And most of them it really did. And then we also see the conversion of some of those that worked against them, like Paul. Saul was, before they changed the name to Paul, he was going around doing what? Wreaking havoc on the church, persecuting Christians, having some of them killed, having them put in prison. But what happened when he came to know Jesus, there was a transformation. And now the majority of the books in the New Testament were written by his handwriting to you and I. The instructions that we have was by a man who was working against the church. Transformation. That's not just somebody talking somebody into following somebody. That's a transformation that only God can do. That's how he transforms us. And then James, even Jesus' own brother, was skeptical, but he was transformed after the power of the risen Christ. And so we see these being great men of God. So that transformation was real, and it's still real. And that's one way that we still witness the power of the resurrection, that we know that it's true, because we can be talked into believing something or following after something, some kind of movement. And there's plenty of that goes around. I mean, there's plenty of religions that are out there that are trying to serve gods, that they got a tomb and they know where that leader is buried. But ours isn't buried anywhere. He's risen. And so the conversion, the fact that a life like mine can be transformed. I'm not who I used to be. I was a fellow that wouldn't talk to anybody about anything. I've told that many times. I wouldn't stand up even in a class going through school, give a book report. I ain't talking to nobody. I ain't standing in front of nobody. But he transformed me from the inside out. And now he's put something in me that has to come out. And it only comes through Holy Spirit, that was only made possible by the power of the resurrection. So that's where our hope comes from in the resurrection. Our hope is that he is resurrected. He's still alive. He's still well. Nothing has changed. So there's so many things in the scripture, so many things in history that bear it out, and we see it to be true, and we witness it, or we should be witnessing every day in the church that we live in now, that lives are truly transformed by the power of God through the resurrection power of Jesus Christ, because of his grace and mercy. So yeah, I love talking about the resurrection, but it's so important to the foundation of what we believe. So yeah, if it hadn't been, I don't dare to think what would take place. But we're not like those that have no hope. We hear that so many times at a funeral. We're not like those that have no hope, because we know that we have a Savior waiting on us. We know we have a future. We know that this soul body one day is going to give up and go back to dust, but we're going to live on because we were created in his image, and he came that we might be restored to that relationship. And it's a powerful thing. So it's a transforming power, the resurrection. That is our hope. That's what we stand on. That's what we live for, what we live in. So that's the message I just wanted to share with us as our family, if you will, online. We appreciate everybody so much on these chats, and I'll just say I appreciate you, Tim and Hannah, for the fellowship that y'all do and on these chats and coming together. And yeah, we might get sidetracked sometimes. Might not talk about bees. Might not talk about food. Might talk about Jesus. You just never know. But it's a good time of fellowship. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share tonight with each one is just the hope that we have in him is still alive and well. It ain't went anywhere. And so I encourage anyone to, if they don't have that hope, to explore that option, explore it and see that it's real. I mean, the way I came into this, I was in church. I grew up in church, grew up around church, and I heard a lot of messages. But probably the greatest influence I had, I looked at people around me and I realized they got something in their life that I don't have. I try to be good like them. I can't do it. I try to have that attitude like they have. I can't do it. But when I realized that when I let Christ come in, he transformed me into a whole nother person. And so I finally realized that what I saw in others was probably a greater sermon than anything I ever heard from the pulpit. So I take that to heart. I deliver a lot of messages from a pulpit now, but I realize folks are going to get more out of what they see in people out there in the streets and in real life than they do from any sermon that I might preach. So it's powerful, but it's a transforming power. That's where our hope is. I do appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the invitation to come on and share that. I'm always willing to share. I got good news. I finally got something that worth talking about. That's why I never talk to anybody. I have anything to talk about. But I finally found something worth talking about, so I don't mind talking now.
We appreciate you coming on. Like I say, Lord willing, we can have you on each year during this time of season.
Like we always enjoy having you on.
Indeed.
Always. I think everybody else does too.
That's it. I mean, the reality of it, we wouldn't have nothing or be nothing if we didn't have him, as you mentioned. And my hope is in him with a capital H. And I know many, many others in here, same as well. But for the ones that think there isn't any hope, there is. Just cry out. As the old time preachers say, cry out for mercy while mercy can be found. And it'll sure enough change your life. Just the same as it's done in ours here daily.
And we've done a lot of ministry out in the street, done prayer walks for years, and just out there among the people. And one thing I found is, there's a lot of people out there that feel like they don't have any hope. They got hope, they just don't realize that. They feel like there's no hope. They feel like there's nothing, and that's a bad place to be when you don't think you have any hope. They don't realize they do have hope. They just need somebody to show them that. They need somebody to shine that light to where they can realize there's hope out there, because there's nobody out there any worse than me or you or anybody else. We all came in this world the same way. I mean, every one of us. And so, some of us might act better at times, some of us might act worse at times, but it's not just about how we act. We all came into that same problem. And, but the only hope I have was Jesus. And, I'm just thanking for every opportunity we get to go out, because you wouldn't realize, sometimes we don't realize how many people out there feel like there is no hope for them. But, we've got that, there's a line in a song that just keeps coming to mind over the years that Casting Crown sang. And if I start quoting the lyrics, they just all jumble together. I don't remember them very well, but it talks about people living in the shadow of the steeple. There's so many people in the shadow of the steeple looking for the hope that's tucked away inside of me and you. And every time I hear that, that just pricks my heart, because sometimes that's true. Sometimes we took that away. You know, we're so glad to have that hope. We're so glad to have that relationship with Jesus. We're so glad to be able to go to church and worship him. We're so glad for that he blesses us. We're so glad to be in worship and spend time with him. But, you know, if we're not careful, the church tucks that away inside, is not willing to go outside the doors and share that with everybody. And there's a lot of people under the shadow of the steeples of churches that are looking for that hope that, as they said so eloquently, that's tucked away inside of us. And so that's really made a difference in me, thinking about those lines of that song, trying to make sure I'm not tucking away what he's done in me, that I share it so somebody else can see, hey, there's hope for you. There's hope for me. There's hope for you.
That's it. Well, it's every one of our jobs as a Christian. You stand behind that pulpit and bring the word and give understanding what the Lord is telling us on things. But as individuals, it's our responsibility too. That's it. To spread the word the best we know how. You confused on something, hey, somebody out there that's got the right answer for you, kind of thing, to help lead an individual. Plant the seed, the Lord, he'll do the rest, kind of thing. Ain't no need in us trying to water it and make it what we want it to make it. Just plant the seed, the Lord, he'll carry on with everything else with it, and it'll fall out to his plan accordingly.
Oh, Clay, and ain't you looking forward to it? I know I am. Every day.
Like I say, that's about a daily conversation in our home. Lord, we looking for you.
Yes.
If we see all the things we've seen fulfilled up to this point, we got every reason to believe that everything's going to be fulfilled that he said. So yeah, we have that hope.
Thank you, Jesus.
That's it.
In the words of Mr. S.
Well, we appreciate you again, Pastor Larry, for, like I say, bringing a little bit of word. Hopefully it's encouraging to many, but if there's any out there that ain't sure on the line with it, then
Sure ain't no hardship. Cry out, Lord.
yeah. Well, I guess on another note, we'll kind of venture on, but we got some beekeeping going on our end. Now, I know y'all are an hour ahead of us, so before I go to yakking about what we're doing on ours, I'll let y'all share with folks what y'all got happening on over there in Hallelujah Bee Farm.
Yeah.
Then I believe we got some photos, but this time on the photos, I sent them to Lee.
The buttons ain't pushing buttons, y'all.
And this thing won't lock up on me like when I was trying to get through the confusion of did Langstroth Debo Zires' ID, and I couldn't get the pictures out for whatever reason. So
Lee's got this, y'all.
that's it. Man's in the background. So if something goes wrong, it's on Lee's night.
I sent a message before I sent the pictures. I said, is it okay to send you some pictures, or is StreamYard got you in timeout? I didn't know what they were doing there, but he said, no, it's okay to send them on. Yeah, the reason I sent those, and I just, and all the pictures that I sent are of some demo rays. And I've heard a lot of people in the chats lately talking about demo rays. Some people that, run them, some hadn't. Some people's had questions about them. And we are by no means, let me just say this up front, we are by no means here to teach anybody about anything. Have we run demo rays? We have. Have we learned some things? For us, yes, we have. But we just wanted to share a little bit of what we're doing and how we do it. And I say there's more than one way to do it. And we've tried. I watched some videos. I read some stuff that people had, and one fellow that had them, I can't remember who he was, but I mean, he ran like 100 colonies of demo rays and got, multitudes of honey. And we went by his pattern, and we done all of our hives like he said to do them, and we didn't really get nothing. And I said, well, that didn't work. And so we just that's kind of like all we've learned on beekeeping. You look at what people's got and you take little bits of this and that, and Charlie talks about it. He runs mediums, but he does a rolling dim array where he pulls that brood up to the top, and it's worked good for him. He does I think a good amount of honey for the amount of hives that he's got. And so we've learned some things, so we just want to share a little bit of our experience. I was talking to, we've got a couple, she grew up in the church and got married a year ago. Matter of fact, today was their anniversary, and they were in church today. It's part of one of the families in the church. And the boy she married they stay, about an hour, between an hour and a half from here. And he helps the fella that keeps bees. And so every time we get together, we have to be careful because she's always having to pull him away because we get carried or bogged down in talking about bees. But I began to share a little bit about the dim array, and boy, that really piqued his interest. But he got reminded that they had a dinner to go to, and they better get gone. So I made sure I had his phone number. I said, "We'll talk bees sometime." But yeah, we've learned some things. Like I said, we're not trying to say we know anything really. Most of the days we just fly by the seat of our pants, and some things work, some things don't. But this year we've gotten a little early start on putting supers on. I know we watched Keith up there. Keith's about 2 hours north of us, and so last year we really kind of followed that pattern. I think we were about a week behind Keith in putting supers on. Probably about the same thing this year. But last year we had, the reason we do dim arrays is when the bees start getting so big, you got to do something with them, and we don't want any more bees. We don't want any more colonies. You wouldn't know it by the amount of swarm traps we put up, but that's another story. We won't get into that. Every year, so we're not going to put up as many swarm traps. And so, yeah, we've got 2 down in the yard now, and one sitting there waiting to go, and another one I think is in the box that I've got to confirm this week. So, but that's a whole nother story. But we're not really trying to grow our apiary because we don't want to keep bees but so many days a week. And right now we're past that limit. So when the bees get so big, you got to do something. You can split them and make nooks. We don't sell nooks, so I don't need that. Well, we do some for resources. We do a few along, or you can split them and make other hives, obviously. But what we found with the dim array is you take that brood and move it up, and you give that queen room. You keep them in the box from swarming, and then you're building more bees for the honey harvest, and so they're able to produce more bees. So for us, it's work. But now I will say this, anybody will tell you, it is work, and you have to check them every week. If you don't check them every week, you're going to have a big disaster. So if you can't commit to that, then don't pay any attention to this next segment. Don't pay any attention to what I said about a demo. If you don't have the time to commit to it, don't even think about it because it will bite you. But the last year we got behind, and how many of you know when you get behind in anything beekeeping, you don't ever catch up. But we had queen cells where we shouldn't have had queen cells, and we tried to save them from having to tear that whole thing down and move that queen somewhere. We tried everything we could, and some of it worked for a little while, and they still swarmed anyway. So this year we started early with the process. As soon as we went in, they started getting crowded. We just went ahead and did a dim array, and basically what we do, we go through the winter with a deep box and a medium on all of our colonies. We let that queen go up into the medium, get it started so she can lay. And then when things start to pick up, we put a queen excluder under there, let all that brood, emerge out of that medium, and put our brood down in one single deep. So when it gets crowded, we'll take the brood out of it, put it in the deep, set it up on top, put at least 2 supers in between, so it puts some separation between them. And then you go back the next week, and whatever queen cells they made in the top box, you just tear them down. If there's what's emptied out, put them down at the bottom, pull your brood out of the bottom, put it in the top. So every week you're emptying that brood chamber out at the bottom. You don't leave her about 1 frame, 2 frames maybe with food, 1 frame of brood. And then she's got all that box, and that queen saying, hey, nobody's home here. I got to do something. And that queen will just lay and lay and lay. So every week you're emptying that thing out, and it's just a continual rolling pattern that way. And so that keeps her out of swarm mode because she never gets crowded in that box. But what they're doing, that brood is continually emerging at the top. And so by the time, in theory, it looks like we're pretty much on schedule if everything go well. if you time it right, when the honey flow starts, you got a massive box full of bees that are ready to go out and bring honey in. And it also keeps them from swarming. So that's the reason we do it. And it works well for us. We've got, let's see, we went in winter, 29 hives, I think. We came out with 27, I believe. So we didn't have much problem with loss. But we take our strongest hives. Now the ones that aren't as strong, we'll pull some of them out to make a nuke for resources or pull it out to boost something or whatever. But our strongest ones, which we've got 13 right now, that's in Demeray, and we about maxed out. We about to use all our equipment up that we can use. So that's probably going to be our limit on Demerays. But we started that back in March. I don't know what exactly when we put the supers on. You remember when we started putting those on?
About first week in March.
About the first week of March, we started putting supers on them. So it's worked well for us. And so the pictures we have, if you want to go ahead and show those pictures, they're just there's one in here we'll try to stop on, but we just kind of flip through. And you see we got a deep box on the bottom, deep box on top. Now that little box on top, we run feeders. We've got those pulled off now, or most of them. That one, as you see, we got an old box. It's got a patch on the side, and I kept it on there just because my lid wouldn't fit. But most of the feeders, we got off. But it's a deep box on the bottom, deep on top, and at least two.
That had our burlap and stuff in there too.
Yeah, during the winter we put burlap. We run rapid rounds when we feed, so it's multi-purpose. But this is just some of the ones that we have in our different yards that we have. And see all those right there. Most of them have the same configuration. Some of them still have that a medium and a shallow, and then a couple of them has just a couple of shallows. But you need at least 2 boxes in between. Then as you add, you just keep adding in between. And once we get through these pictures, I'll share one thing we learned about the supers for us. And they can get pretty tall when the flow starts going. And they get pretty hard to keep up with sometimes. But we've got that one right there. That one's got 6 boxes on it. We just started April. That thing's got 3 deeps, a medium, and 2 shallows. That queen right there is laying like nobody's business. And I told Jan, I said, if I could come up with a formula that could reproduce what that hive is doing, I wouldn't want with 10 hives. I couldn't keep up with them. That's all I can handle. She is laying like I don't know what. But most of them's got 2 boxes in the middle, and they're rocking along. So once they start, and they actually bring it in more. We don't, you look out there and you don't see much coming in, but they're finding it somewhere. And so they're feeding their own self now. But the time will come very soon, I think, that when that flow picks up, we got most of our supers on, so we're going to be pulling supers and extracting and putting them right back on, which isn't a bad thing as long as you can keep up with it. But that's just something. And what we learned about for us about the supers is this: the pattern I saw from whoever it was I was looking at, they did the same thing, but on top, they put their super on top. They just put foundation like in those 2 boxes, which in this time of year, they don't do anything with, and they put their honey super on top, and then they stack supers on top of that. And we did that, and we didn't make any honey hardly that year. And so we went back to the pattern. Really, I think it's kind of like what Charlie does with his mediums, to where that brood is pulled to the very top and you put all your supers in between. We did that last year, and we made more honey last year than we've ever made by putting them in there. So we keep that brood on the very top. We don't put anything on top of that box. We just stack everything in between. And we do put an upper entrance in them. We just got a shim built with a notch cut in it, because if you move frames up, if they got drones on them, they need to get out. And plus the bees like to go in that without going to the excluder and put honey in the top. So it worked well for us. Like I said, I'm not going to say anybody else has to do that, or that I can teach anybody anything, but that's just what the version of Demeray that we do. And so far it's worked good for us. Like I said, last year was our record year for honey, and it's looking okay for right now. So we still have, that's 13, and we've still got, I don't know what we have exactly now, but we got at least that many that's in singles with supers on them.
DC wants for honey rounds.
Well, last year we didn't pull as much, DC. He was asking how many rounds of brood did we pull up. When we did it the year before and what we're doing this year, every week we're doing it. And basically, when the flow picks up to a certain point, we'll stop. Now, last year, I don't think we did it about twice. I mean, you got the option to do it. You can do it one time. Some people do it, for that one time. But it really depends on what the bees are doing. If they're still cranking it out to where they're packing out in danger of swarming, we just kind of need to keep doing it. But you don't have to, as long as you make sure you keep checking them, they don't swarm, get overcrowded. But now this year, we've been going since, like I said, probably started early March, and we've been on them once a week. And so we'll probably go at least to the middle of this month. And if the flow picks up, we'll probably stop at that point.
And Norman, we have got some queens off of that one he was talking about. Whenever you put the frames up, you'll have to go back and while you're going, you're going to be taking out the queen cells because they will make queen cells since they're away from the queen. They don't feel like they've got a queen. So we have took some of the queen cells out and put them in the incubator. So we do have some 3-frame nooks out there now that we've got some virgin queens that's going to hopefully get mated this week or next week.
We've had a huge drone population. They started kind of early, but now they're cranking out the drones. So I don't think that's a problem in that area. They're getting whole slabs of drones that's emerged. There's a lot of them just packed with drones. So we have a good population.
The queen's down, but whenever you move that brood up, those bees will feel like they're queenless up there, and then they'll make queen cells out of the eggs, or then you'll go back and take those queen cells out.
But it's whatever you want to do. If you don't want to do anything with queens, I mean, you obviously just tear the queen cells down so that. Yeah, I've heard some models where they use a queen excluder on top up under that box too. Now we've never run 2 queen excluders, and I think one reason they do it if they happen to, if you get lazy or caught up and you can't get to it and the queen emerges, the theory is to keep that queen from going back down, and getting to the other queen or getting into your supers. But like I said, we never run a excluder up there. We just try to keep a check on them. We should have time to catch them before they emerge. But yeah, the biggest thing is you're making that queen feel like she's got an empty box downstairs. Because like I said, we'll leave probably a food frame on each side and maybe one, whatever she's on, if she's got brood on it, we'll leave that one frame for her, and everything else we just put empty comb in. And so she's got in that 10-frame box, she's got like seven frames she can lay on. And so that queen just steady lays if she's a good queen. So they're producing brood. And like I said, when you put it up top, you just let it sit and emerge, and it really packs some boxes out with bees. But we like it that way. Like I said, it doesn't add any others. If you're trying to build and you want to split, to make more colonies, it wouldn't work for you. If you're trying to make nooks out of it to sell or either for your own self, it wouldn't be good. But for us, it's worked good. So we just kind of wanted to share what we do with it.
It's a lot better. You don't have to really think about what you're going to do. You get out there and you're going to move frames up.
But you better not get behind on them. You can stay up with them. It's really works well.
Yeah.
It sounded like it's a win-win in a lot of ways. If you're doing, we've never tinkered with it, but we was tearing one apart yesterday, and I told Hannah whenever we put everything back together, and the privet's coming on pretty heavy now, so the colonies we was getting in, it's obvious they're building out, and they're building out strong as far as new comb and bringing in and this and that. But I told Hannah, I said, doggone it, we had the thing tore apart. We should have tried a demery with this. Then she's like, she was honest with me. She said, you're too late. So maybe whenever we get into them next week or something like that, I may switch them around, just try one to see how it goes. But kind of going back to what
you don't have to do, like if you don't have all your drone comb up top, you can just put in foundation just to do a filler. So that way, the next week, whenever those brood hatch out, you can just take those that hatched out. You can take those drone comb, and then if you need some more foundation downstairs, then you've got your foundation up there to put in there. So you've got your foundation there also. So, but if you don't need it, it serves the purpose upstairs just to do the filler. So.
Well, to the point, I was sitting here thinking while you were explaining all that, that great way to get the numbers up, especially a great way to get you a good nectar flow. There's one happening. But if you got a good colony you want to pull some genetics from, it sounds like that's a good way to get you some nice virgins off of a colony that you really like, and say, well, hey girl, make all the cells you want to. We're going to manipulate this still, but you know, you can go in and get you 3 or 4 or 5 cells off of it and make you some nice splits with some genetics that you want to try to keep in the yard. So you get
one of ours, we took 20, it was 21 queen cells that was on one of them last week. We didn't take all of them. We tore them all down, but we put some of them in the incubator. But that's, you know, that's a good way, like you said, to get some queens. They'll make their own queens.
Yes, ma'am. Especially if they putting out like that. Lord, that's way better than I know.
We've got 12 3 frames out there, frame nooks out there now that we've got queens coming out of the incubator. The virgins.
So then all y'all have to do is just introduce.
We get them. We'll take them. Some of the swarms that we had, we're taking some of those and the resources and putting those in the 3 frames, and we're letting them get queenless, and we'll put them up there and sit until the queens are starting to emerge, and then we got the nook waiting on them. So, and they're queenless, so the queen, you can just release her and she'll just walk on down.
We tried last year. We've seen a lot of people letting them walk in the entrance. We tried that last year, but we didn't have a very good success rate with that. But so far, the ones they've done good. We set them up on top. You know, they don't have much of a pheromone, but we've set them on top after they set there about a day and know they're queenless and laid it up there. And they've been surrounding that cage, and we've opened it up, and they've all walked right down in there. So we're hoping we have some success with that. We've got some queens that need to be replaced, and those singles that we have. That's why we didn't make them into a Demarest. So we're just letting them rock on what they can for now, and hoping we can get some mated queens. But we operate now under probably one goal, and that's don't buy bees. You know, we went through that of buying nooks every year and losing them, buying them, losing them. So now we actually found we can keep some alive through the winter. Our goal is not to buy any bees. So yeah, we could probably be ahead of things, you know, if we went and bought some mated queens and, you know, stuck in there early. But the swarms we talked about, we caught 14 swarms last year. And of course, some of them we use resources out of. If we needed something, we'd pull it out of it, you know, put it in a colony, or needed to boost one or something. And so by the time we went in winter, we took some of the weak ones and combined them. And so we went in winter with 7 of those swarms, and we brought all 7 of those through the winter. So we got 7 colonies sitting down there that came out of the trees last year. And some of them made honey last year. So some of them make honey this year. And then a couple of them that's not as strong. That's what we've been using. We pull brood out and stick in those mating nooks, you know, to help get. And so we've already got 3. We got 2 sitting in there now, swarms that we done put in the yard. And I got 1 sitting on the pig pen that needs to be put in the yard.
And they're drawing comb for us. So
yeah, we got some foundation when we went to the expo. And so we're sticking that in there and trying to get some more comb drawn out. Like I said, we about use up our resources with all these Demarest. So I think we're about at our limit of anything we can add. We have to go to plan B if we come up on something else. I'm about cleaning everything I got out. It's on a hive somewhere.
Roy
You
says
was-
we're going to be a commercial beekeeper. The only commercial beekeeper we're going to do is we'll do a commercial for bees, but we don't want to be no commercial beekeeper.
No,
No desire.
no.
It doesn't get
Let's
fun
say
when
it's a
when it gets over 3 days. No, that's not fun for me. I got the things I like to do too.
Yeah, I agree with Brian on there. Buy equipment and make bees.
Uh-huh.
That's what we've
That
had.
equipment's getting pricey though.
Yeah. Well, we've been blessed since we've actually decided that we're going to try to learn something and keep them alive. Since 2022, we've shared that story of the trees falling on there and wiping out what we had. And so we were down to one colony starting that year, and we built up. So we hadn't had over two since 2022. We hadn't lost over 2 hives over winter. So we've been blessed to be able to make them through. But like I said, we're at the place that we can spend more time in them than a lot of folks can. I understand, I'm not working full time like I was, and people like Bruce, I don't know, he's working full time and keeps 100 to 150 colonies. And I was talking to Lee, and I said, I don't know how in the world a man does that. I can't even imagine what that'd be like. But no, we don't want to. Like I said, we really want to work about 2 days. But right now, I keep telling myself that we get to that question was asked about, how long do we do that? How long do we roll it Demarest? It's going to come a time that hopefully that's going to stop. But the only thing is, I've already realized, as I just mentioned, about that time, that nectar flow is going to be in, and we don't have any more supers. So we're going to be pulling supers and spinning them and putting them back on. So I don't know if it'll get any better this year or not. Our hope is that we'll make good honey. Maybe we'll see. We've been dry. We've been in extreme, and what's our level? Extreme? No, severe drought. We actually got rain today. It hadn't been a lot. I don't know if we got about a 1/4 inch, but it's been like a slow shower off and on.
Everything looks so green and fresh looking.
My grass that went in the weekend looking like it was fine in the front yard, and now it looks like it's overgrown like overnight.
Uh-huh. Was talking about that the other day.
Clover's coming out. That's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of stuff blooming. Like I said, it's getting so dry. I don't know how they were getting nectar, but most every colony we've been in has surprised us with the amount of nectar they packed in those frames. So they're finding something somewhere.
Yeah, I'm having a good run of clover and this and that. We finally getting through. There's still a little bit of clover running around down this way, but we just now got through the blackberry bloom. And be honest with you, we ain't had a whole bunch of rain ourselves down in this area. We're very much behind on what our annual rainfall is, kind of thing.
Some the last 3 days. We got some decent little showers, and that got that privet to start popping pretty good.
Yeah, that privet woke up whenever that rain come in through here. It's starting to see it more and more along the highways now. And we went to some folks' house the other day to help them out, and you got to go down a forever long driveway to get to their house, 20 acres back. I'll just put it like that. And as you go through there, you go through a pine thicket, then you get into the hardwood of where his land is. And that privet's everywhere down here. I mean, you trip over it all over the place, but we was noticing how well it was blooming down there at his house. And by the way the crow flies, he ain't but maybe 2 or 3 miles through the woods, I guess, a direct shot.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see it kind of push on up toward our way and get a little bit north, up closer to the old place up there. So hopefully with the rain we got last night and that little bit today, it'll be a good push for the privet. And kind of going back, you have brought up Spillman, then you talk about using them mediums on your Demarest, but I picked up on something. I don't know if it's just, we don't have a whole lot of medium boxes. Everything we run, 90% of is deeps. but we do have a few. And this year, since we waxed everything, got it ready, I was going to burn them up first, as far as using the mediums. And the colonies that we got them on, they've already drawn out that foundation, all 10 frames on those mediums, and backfilling a good majority of it, versus the colonies that we've gotten in that have all deeps.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the colonies with the deeps, they're kind of meandering. They're drawing a little bit, this and that, but they ain't drawing nowhere near what they're pulling on the mediums. Now, I don't know if it's these particular genetics or mutts, or if it has something to do with that smaller portion of a box and they figure, let's draw this out quicker or what. But what I was seeing, I was thinking about it yesterday. I was like, oh, Spillman may be on to something here.
Mm-hmm.
Running them mediums and how quick they're drawing these doggone boxes out.
Look at the amount of honey the man turns out.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's on to something.
But like I say, I don't know if it's just those particular colonies or what, but I did notice the ones that had mediums on there, they pretty well are fully drawn out with brand new beautiful comb and backfilled, versus getting into the colonies that, comb in there a couple, 3 years old, that they're backfilling and kind of sluggish about drawing out on them deeps. But it's looking like we're going to have a fairly decent season, better than we've had these last couple of years, that's for sure.
Lord willing, no falls, no hospital trips, and no bee stings. And we'll be on a roll this year.
All right.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear y'all got some bees
It's
to
also
get in
good.
and enjoy. There's nothing like that, I know.
We did. Y'all said I was like a 5-year-old out there. What day? We did yesterday. It took me 3 hours to get my body moving this morning, but it was fun. It was so much fun to smell a beehive, and they were all in a good mood. Like nobody was being fussy, really. But we went through our 2 biggest colonies, and we split each of them 3 ways. So we went from 4 colonies to 10 colonies yesterday.
Yay.
As long as everybody takes. So, oh yeah, I was pumped. I was so tired, I couldn't even do my happy dance, but I was ecstatic that we got that many. Because, I mean, we made like 3 and 4 frame splits out of all of them and put them in deeps. But I don't know. I prayed over them, so I'm hoping the Lord will let them take. And that'll be a really good start for us getting back to normal this year.
But we got to say, we wouldn't be where we're at this year if
Without
it had,
Mr. Russell Amon.
yes, Mr.
helping
Russell
us
Amon,
last year.
with everybody that's been with us. Y'all know the last few years of everything that's going on, this and that.
Mhm.
And Mr. Russell calling us and saying, hey, look, I know y'all have had a lot going on, and I understand y'all lost your bees as well. Come give me a visit. And God love him. We left there with some bees, and that's the only way we was able to get anything rocking and rolling this year, was thanks to Mr. Russell.
Yeah, Mr.
helping us.
Russell, we split the biggest colony you gave us first. And the very first split we took out of that box, we put in our little church house new that we built with the gift card y'all sent him for his birthday.
Yeah, Pastor Larry and Miss Jan.
Mm-hmm. They sent him the Lowe's gift card last year for your birthday. And we bought the stuff and built that little church house new. But we got that one, and then we put the other 2 in the horizontal hive to start filling it up again. But we have 4 colonies now out of the one of the colonies you gave us, Mr. Russell.
Yeah. So, thank you for helping us out on that here.
Philip gonna make himself dizzy listening to everything on twice the speed, trying to catch up because his phone died. That's hilarious.
He's going to be saturated in the word today.
You know, you can always go back and watch it later at normal speed.
I think next weekend we're going to bust into those other two. With the numbers are looking good on every colony, the numbers were looking good. The only ones we was worried about, and I know y'all heard us chirping about this going into fall and especially winter, we had that one little colony we did a cutout on after we had gotten with Mr. Russell Amon, and that was it, what we did beekeeping last year. And those numbers were so small, we didn't even think they were going to make it through the winter kind of thing. But they held on. And whenever we cracked the lids on them yesterday, that colony is growing and growing fast. She has got some excellent numbers in there. They seem to be a little bit testy. I don't know if that's because of the weather coming in. But other than that, that'll be one colony we're going to split off of as well. And the other one, Lord willing, next weekend to go ahead and try to get us up to, I'm hoping that'll get us around 16 to 18. And as long as everything takes, we'll definitely be able to get to our 20 mark. Now, granted, we'll have a few colonies that we'll be able to get some honey off of, but once again, we'll just take these numbers, build everybody again this year.
Yeah.
That way, Lord willing, if there's another season ahead for us, we'll be able to go in with some really nice, strong colonies to go into next season. Lord willing, like say around the 20 mark or so.
And double down on some honey.
Indeed.
But, I mean, a couple of our colonies now are big enough we could probably get honey off of them this year.
Oh, yeah, those
Just grow
four.
the other split.
Because even what we split down, that didn't even really, we didn't split them hard.
No, there's still at least 3 deeps on the two original colonies we split.
So we'll definitely be able to get us a good little old honey crop off everybody. But once again, it'll be grow the numbers. And I'm really encouraged and looking forward to running these horizontals again. From our experience with them, I don't know what it is. It just seems like to us that they perform at a higher level. I don't want to say really better, but at a higher level for some reason in them horizontal hives around here. And that was some showing up honey makers for us in years past.
Philip's making fun of us.
Well, maybe don't sound like I'm lagging now. At least end of the night after all day, I might sound like I'm a little dragging. So I may be up to normal speed now.
But I was going to say, our slow talk brought it up to a normal talk. If he's got it on fast forward,
he said I'm caught up. I didn't think about that. It don't sound like we talk that slow when we're in a conversation, but I can't go back and listen. Like I don't ever go back and re-listen to the videos because I feel like I sound like a 10-year-old that's talking at half speed. So yeah, imagine if they fast forward and it does sound like we're just talking normal.
Clay said he watched it came in Mr. Ed at 1.5 speed.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, let me ask you a question. You talking about the horizontal hive, and what you set that up with, like different colonies inside of that horizontal, or how do y'all like those? We never have one. I thought about building one for queen rearing, but I was just wondering how y'all.
Usually, what we do with it, is you can either the fella that built them for us, God love him, he's going to be with the Lord now, but he built it to where you can either have
Three
10
or one, 3 10 frames, and then there's one slot in the middle you could put a partition to divide it in two, and have 2 colonies, or you can just open it all the way. So like I don't know, to me it's so much easier to grow a colony really quick in a horizontal, especially with the little slide in partitions, because you can start them at, a 5-frame nuke, and then just as they build up, just keep scooting that partition wall back a little more and just add frames to them. To me, that's the biggest thing, is you kind of have to stay on top of them, because you can't just go throw another 10-frame box on them and let them go. But like I said, they build so much faster, it seems like, in a horizontal for whatever reason. So I love them.
We've got the 2, and both of them are set up the same way, where you can either have 3 or whatever you want to do your configuration at. But oftentimes, one is 3 different colonies in one, and then the other, we'll let them grow into just one big massive colony in the other. And each year that we've just let a colony grow to the max, as far as filling up frames in that one horizontal, and you end up, I think you can actually fit 32 frames in their way it falls out once you pull them partitions out. But we've literally had them from one end to the other, and it'll be set up to where they got their main entrance, and you'll have your brood section right there by that one main entrance. Then the rest of it down the line, they'll draw it out. And I'd say your last, I don't know, 18 to 20 frames, if you're going to let them run all the way, it'd be packed out with honey from one end, from that all the way to the end down there. But like she's saying, it's got its benefits and its drawbacks too. But for the most part, we really like working the horizontal hives a little bit better.
They're so much easier to work, and you don't have to open the whole thing up at one time. Because like we have 1x4 slats instead of like a whole solid inner cover or top on it. Like we have the main top you roll back, but then like if you just want to check the brood frame, you can pull out 2 slats and just check your frame, and you don't have to open up the whole colony, kind of thing. I really like that about it too.
Yeah, I was wondering how they did on honey on them, because I know, in a normal Langstroth, they like to put their honey in the top. I didn't know how they did horizontal, but I was thinking about doing it mainly, like you said, for raising nooks in it, or either, for mating either one. I love stuff that grow. We like using 5-frame nooks because they build up. They seem to build. I guess they like that confined space. They do so much better. You drop in a 10-frame box, and it's like they just meander around and don't seem to do much. You put them in a little box, and it's like you have to stack boxes on it to keep up with them. So
I think y'all would do really good.
Yeah, I had that on my build list, but again, I had a whole list of stuff at the beginning of the year. I got organized enough to sit down. I said, made us a list. This is what we need to do before the end of March. Well, or was it before the beginning of March? Before the beginning of March. Yeah, I'm still working on that list. And then I had a build list of things I need to build in the wood shop, and I haven't started on that list. So it won't be this year for sure, but I got that on my radar. I'd like to play around with that. I like the idea of being that height, because I have my old backs not as young as it used to be, and there was that strong. So sometimes them old boxes get pretty heavy. That's another thing with Demeray, is the lifting on them. When you get them things full, have to stack them up.
Yeah.
That's the only downfall with it, is you can't add a box to it and just keep going and going and going.
you gotta work them. Like you
So-
gotta pull those full frames and get them new frame, like empty frames to work with. But they're a lot of fun to me. Like if y'all are wanting to use one, like for starting nukes and growing them out, I think y'all would really, really like a horizontal for that, because it blows my mind how much faster they'll grow in there versus a laying straw.
You could build that horizontal to where, say, if you just have one spot and you had a partition that would fit 10 frames, just build out a little bit more. Build out an inch wider. That way, you put you a half-inch partition between those, and you can have two 5 frames right there in that one. But you got the partition to where, they'll go to either the left or the right, depending on whichever side they belong to. But I know a lot of people are kind of hesitant on some of it because they worry about drifting.
We never have had trouble with that.
Now,
Even having 3 colonies in one.
no, I mean literally, the front of that cypress will be covered on the outside with bees, and as you see them, they're all in that same motion, doing that little waving back and forth whenever they get home for the evening. But having trouble with fighting or drifting or anything like that, we never had those problems.
Never saw it. I love them. That if we had the money, because to me, and they're so, like you're talking about your back, they're so much easier to work because it's like at a workbench height kind of thing. You're not bending over and you're not having to like stand up on your tippy toes either. To me, the only, I guess, downfall is you have to stay on top of them, but y'all are used to that doing the demeries with your laying straw hives. Because like y'all were just talking about, if you don't stay on top of it, you'll mess up big time. But I don't know, I love them. I wish we could run nothing but horizontals.
And one suggestion that I wish I'd have done, I could go back and change it. Wouldn't be nothing to do, but I just felt like it, to be honest with you. But if you decide to build one, build it to where your lid, you can lift it up and access from the back side. That way you're not working in front of that entrance. Whenever we do work them, we kind of have to stand sideways so all the traffic can, they'll still back up on you a little bit.
The ends aren't bad because you can stand on the sides and work for the most part. It's just the one, if you're working one in the center, you kind of have to stand sideways or they get fussy.
Now, to keep from the drifting, you probably could take your entrances and do some kind of different color flower or some kind of different color in front of those different entrances. And that way it would keep them from, if it all looked the same, sometimes put a different color over the entrance or something.
Well, and too, I thought about if we build some more, like you can still keep it, 3 10-frame boxes wide. But instead of having all 3 entrances on the front, for the 2 end ones, you could put them on the outsides of the hive and just have one on the front for the center one. But like I said, we never had any trouble with it.
No, it's just,
and I don't know if it had anything to do with it, but we would stick the name tags when I was actually keeping up with names. And they were all in kind of a different position, so that may have helped a little. And I had different colored thumbtacks.
we did have different colored
But I didn't even think about that, Miss Jan. That may have helped them out a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, you could put it like paint you a different flower or a different color or something. Spray paint something. So, because that's what we've done with our 3-frame nooks. We've got them all out there and we got them staggered. But, instead of them all looking the same, we've got them all painted a different color. So that,
That's a really good idea. Norman said bees love being named and they like to see their names.
Well,
Well,
ours
that's
are
good.
named.
Well, ours should be happy then.
We
should
got
have
happy bees because ours are named. Mine's not numbered; they're named.
We used to give everybody a tribal name. We had, if there was a
Mhm.
Indian tribe in North America, buddy, they had a name out there.
We're gonna get that going again though, since we're finally getting bees back. I told him I actually feel like a beekeeper again for the first time in 10 months.
Well, instead of number 'em, I can remember a name better than I can a number. So you that way,
Mhm.
instead of number 39, you know a name. So it's easier for me to
Well,
remember.
plus, like, yeah, and plus, like, I don't know. I mean, y'all know me. I love my bees. Like,
And if I name
it's
it,
just
it's
more of a
mine.
personal way.
Right. Anything I name
That's
is
it.
mine.
That's it.
And then
That's
we've got,
it.
if you've got the queens, if they've got daughters and all, I put a name that resembles that queen, so that way I know who the mom is, just I got my little
Yeah.
composition notebook that it don't make a hill of beans to nobody but me. But anyway.
And one of the things we run into when we start naming, you might name them after a character on a TV series or something. So every daughter that comes from there has got to have something from that same series so you can keep up with them.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you run out of those
Sandy.
names.
You do the
Yeah.
peanut characters.
Because Miss
Hey,
Jan
I
has
love the peanut.
she has got a pretty good case of OCD. Now the Demarest is kind of tough on her because when we start, we don't know which ones we're going to do what to. So, and we're painting, all our boxes are painted, different colors. So a lot of times things are kind of color coded. So if we pulling our daughters out of one that was in a blue hive, she wants something with that kind of blue. So it's easy to recognize the color. Oh, this came from so and so. And then when we get in there and we like, hey, we're gonna have to make a Demarest out of this one, and they need to have a new box at the bottom. So I grab the first box I can get, and it's a color that don't match nothing. And I stick that box back in the place where that bottom box was, take that one and set it up on top. She's like, that is gonna go back down to the bottom. I said, yeah, eventually it'll make its way back down. So we got them all. You might have seen the pictures. They don't match right now. They are all different colors. And so I'm using that for OCD therapy, trying to help her deal with that a little bit. But yeah, naming gets to be an issue sometimes. We get them
That's
family
me, actually.
series.
Just can't help it. It's just the way my
Just
mind works.
ignoring it. I'm with you, Miss Jan. I completely understand that. Absolutely. Norman said he names all the hives after the women and girls in his wife's family.
Well, that's an easy way to keep up with names. You go, okay, this one.
But did you see DC? Does that just allow you to badmouth the women in your life without badmouthing the women in your life? Oh no.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you folks in the North Country, I know a lot of y'all got some snow and cold weather again up there.
All over again. I think Mr. Russell Koopman did, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
The other day.
they were supposed to get some snow and ice up there in Michigan and Minnesota up that way. I was seeing it.
We got our last little cold snap blowed in today. It's going to be like 67 or 68 tomorrow. And then Tuesday it'll be back up to 81.
I've always been told, Daddy always would say, whenever the pecan trees start to get their leaves on it, that would be the last of our cold. Well, our pecan trees around here are starting to get some little leaves on them. So I'm hoping that's going to be the last of our cold. Our blackberries are just now starting to get a little bloom on them. So we're hoping to not lose some of that.
So it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma always said that when the fig trees get their leaves, it ain't gonna freeze no more. But you always gonna get your last little cool snap right at Easter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember a year she was wrong. And our fig tree is full of leaves now. So I reckon this is it.
It's got the leaves on them.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you, if that joker don't put off a fig this year, I'm laying the axe to the root. I have been babying this fig tree for over 10 years.
And it's never put off
Never.
a fig. 1 year, it got little bitty nubs. I mean, them little old green figs wasn't big around as a dime. And I went out there the next day, and every one of them had fell off. And it's never put off a whole fig.
Because I hewed them down about 2 years after we moved here. Because I went out there and I explained to them, I said, we moved y'all from the last house. So if y'all don't do nothing here, I'm going to give you a couple years. And they wouldn't produce. So 1 year I just had enough of it. I said, you know what? I'm done with it. Yeah, all y'all get cut down. So I cut down its brothers and sisters out there.
Well, you cut it down too, but it grows back.
It grew back. So I
let it go.
I gave it a chance. But this is going on about 5 years of it just making pretty leaves and no figs. I like my figs.
Or do you have to have 2 figs to have figs?
I don't know. I know some fruit trees are like that, but I really don't know about that.
I don't know. Some of them you have to have to pollinate. So I don't know how that works, but I was just wondering. I know some grapes and blueberries you have to have.
Yeah.
We had bought 5 turkey figs. That's what they were. And at where we was living at before, we put everybody in the ground out there because we thought we was going to be there for a number of years. And about year 3, they kind of started finally getting a little bit of hype on them. So I was like, okay, y'all going to do something maybe next year. Well, now, when we moved, we literally dug up every single plant and flower that we had and moved it all out here where we're at now. And I planted the fig trees once again out here. Thinking, well, this is going to be our permanent spot for a good number of years, we know. So now's y'all's chance if you're going to perform. Well, like I said, I gave them a little bit of time. They didn't perform, so I laid the axe to them. But that one, like she said, it pulled through and come on back. And I was like, well, if you're going to do this, I'll give you one more shot. But this year, if you don't put off, then
he's going to go buy another fig tree and put beside it.
No, that ain't coming down. I'll just go up to the old place and go get figs off her grandma's fig tree. That joker is.
I was gonna say, we sitting here complaining about it, and my grandma has got an 80-year-old fig tree that puts off, bushels and bushels of fig. Like literally, there's an 8-foot step ladder in the limbs of that tree that you can't even see no more. The tree's so big. I love it. Oh my word. We used to go sit under that tree and pure make ourselves sick, just pigging out on ripe figs under that.
DC, Hannah's daddy had about 3 apple trees over there. And down here.
Never put off an apple, have they?
Well, 1 year they did.
Them
before they died. They put off them little bitty ones. And they was good, sweet little apples, but I guess our climate may be a little bit too much for them because everybody we talk to say that apple trees really don't do well at all down here.
Mm-mm.
But they would bloom every single year and be some of the prettiest trees you've seen. But I think some kind of blight got a hold to them. And
some got his plum tree this year too.
Yep. So those are not in the picture anymore, but I'd love to have some apple trees, especially if they actually did something.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been back here, I think, almost 10 years this year.
This December will be 10 years.
And that tree would bloom every single year, but only that one year that I can recall, it actually
Put off the little
put off some
apples.
little apples, but they probably wouldn't even as big, maybe as big as a tennis ball, little bitty old things.
DC, they flower pretty, but they don't put off no cherries down here. Or I've never seen one that actually made cherries.
We got wild cherries, them wild black cherries.
I mean, we have some wild cherry trees and they bloom beautiful, but I think they're just the ornamental. Really, I don't think we have any that like actually grow cherries down here. We have hawthorn trees, don't we?
Got hawthorn.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pear trees do pretty good down
Yes.
here. My daddy's got a couple Bradford pears over there.
and a couple
They make
sand.
excellent pear butter and pear cobbler and pear bread.
We've been noticing around here. I've noticed lately that we had a ton of those wild black cherry trees that's been blooming out. And we were watching Bob Benny's video earlier today, and he was talking about the ones they have, and he was getting a couple of his people on his crew to smell them and see how bad they smell. And he was talking about how bad it tastes. So you don't want that in your honey. And I'm like, oh, great. One of the things we got blooming and prevalent right now. Well, that's
I'm
great.
pretty sure it was a cherry tree. He had one of the ladies that works with him got her to taste it, and she about spit it out, so it tastes like Robitussin.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
I think it was a
it
cherry
tastes like
tree.
cough syrup.
Uh-huh. I don't want none of that. I'm not much on the cherry. I sure ain't much on cough syrup.
The pear trees do good here. Peach trees do really good.
Excellent.
I guess if you got the right spot in your yard, figs will do good. Mulberries are all over in the woods out here. I mean, not we got a mulberry, but I'm thinking about huckleberry. What I'm thinking about, huckleberries all in the woods out here. Then they say we live on an old prison camp that was in operation during the war between the states, this and that. And don't know when they were planted, if they was planted around that time, this or that, but we got a bunch of, we just call them wild grapes, but them old scoponon.
Oh, you talk about, oh man, I could eat them things.
Bullets, we call them bullets.
Yes,
yeah, same thing.
Mm-hmm. And finally, last year they put off real good, but we got to do a lot more clearing of the water oaks around here, I believe, before we can get any more fruits. Because we got blueberry, we got peaches, and all them do good, but
we've been talking about clearing more oak trees for a number of years now. Because we took out over 20 of them when we moved in. And I'm here to tell you, you cannot appreciate how many limbs are on an oak tree till you cut that puppy down and you got to pick them all up and get them on a burn pile. So we've been procrastinating on that. Probably worse than any other project we have to do around here.
Well, it's one of them when they hit the ground, you know, if I don't cut it all up and go to stacking now, it ain't gonna get done. I'm just gonna have a bunch of snags out in the yard. But
and the pollen is coming off like crazy this year, DC. I mean, literally on a super dry day when the wind blows, you can see clouds of yellow dust just flying through the air. Bob Benny says bees definitely get pollen off the oak. Ours ain't got no shortage of it down here, that's for sure.
Not one bit. Or at least on our little spot anyway.
Or DC said their oaks aren't starting yet. Ours never quit.
Mm.
Literally, they never quit. They really don't even, the leaves don't even turn brown till like January. And they never all fall off either.
Ours do. They'll all fall off and it'll be look like a stick out there. That's all. Then it'll put leaves back on.
What is it? The live oaks do.
No, them red oaks will drop the leaves like crazy.
Yeah.
Once it gets to, fall,
Yeah.
they'll change and they'll fall. And like you talking about, it just be, some bare trees out there. But
the water oaks, they never lose all their leaves. But the way they drop them, you'd think they'd be bald at the top, but they're not. My daddy was fussing the other day. He's got a leaf blower. So like we've got like a 40-foot long deck with like a 20-foot long ramp for my brother's wheelchair over there. Well, my dad, he's trying really hard to take care of himself, but he refuses to use a leaf blower. He's going to sweep that whole deck and ramp because it's good for his balance and it's good exercise. I'm like, okay, Dad, I'm not going to argue with you. But by the time he gets from one end of the deck to the other and he turns around, he gets mad because you can't even tell he swept it off. So many more leaves have done fell. He was like, well, the Lord just gives me more to do every day, boo. I was like, that's a good way to look at it, Dad. And Mike talking about we still got snow.
Be right back.
I'm trying to catch up on these comments. bad.
They're slowing down now.
Yeah. Well,
We've been going almost 2 hours.
that's crazy. Time to
Really?
by.
I thought we'd only been sitting here an hour.
Well, Mike, hopefully y'all will thaw out here pretty soon and officially be done with you. Snow and ice up that way.
No joke. I love the snow, but I'd be pulling my hair out by now. But it's time to move on.
Well, I think Miss Sharon, she had her fill of it. Miss Sharon,
Yeah, she did.
getting down here talking about he was over the snow pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in the end of February. But well, that's on my mind. Y'all be down this way soon, won't you, Pastor Larry?
Oh yeah.
Well, we're hoping to. We've got some possible hiccups in that plan, so we're kind of we're hoping it's going to work, but we'll find out. Yeah, it's scheduled for the middle of July. That around the 16th, 17th, somewhere that right in the middle of July. We're still waiting.
Well, Lord willing, it.
We'll have to see how that's working.
We'll be praying.
If it works out, y'all holler at us, and we'll meet with y'all somewhere down that way when you get done with your conference there.
That's what I was gonna say. I'll be praying for the Lord's will, but I'm sure gonna ask him if he'll work it out where we could get together one day.
Well, I can promise you, I won't go as far as Mobile and not see y'all. Y'all gonna have to be out of the state or out of the country for us to get together somehow if we get that close.
We've got to.
If
For real, we've got to.
If it don't work out that month, we might can work out something some other time, but we'll see.
Well, yes, man.
Absolutely.
Y'all do. Thankfully, we ain't, but it don't take about 30, 45 minutes to get to the big city down there. So it ain't a bad ride at all. And we'll eat some grub somewhere on some good Gulf seafood and this and that.
Or just have y'all up to the house for supper, maybe.
There you go. Hannah could cook a good fine meal.
I've seen some
I
mighty fine
think she was
recipes
talking
come
about
out of there.
mama, so
Hey, she does good now. I have to give her that. She paid attention to grandma and mama.
I'm gonna say I enjoy cooking. Like, I really do. If I didn't have to wash dishes, I'd really, really enjoy it. But that was just like, I don't know, I guess it's just part of the South. You know, you grow up hanging on grandma's apron strings and up under mama in the kitchen.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
But I will say, I'm gonna tell y'all this. She's probably gonna get a little fired up with me on this one. But
I know.
she told me the other day. She said, "I got a hankering. I want to build a cake." I was like, "I like that idea. Are you gonna make a strawberry one?" She said, "Yes, I'm going to make a strawberry one." Okay. So
If you say cake, he don't want to hear it unless it's strawberry cake with strawberry ice.
So she went to the store, got all the supplies to build the thing. She come in here and she put it all together, threw it in the oven. A little while later, I was surfing through YouTube or something, and I heard bam, bam, bam. Then
I was livid.
she was done, Jack.
I was so mad.
And I wasn't gonna pipe up and say nothing at the time because I knew she was pretty fired up about something. So I went in the kitchen after she walked outside and I looked at that cake, and undoubtedly, I guess some of it stuck to the bottom of the deal.
No. What fired me up was I had set that thing on the cooling rack. And like it was one of those long square ones, so I baked it in a casserole dish. Well, he's sitting right here in this chair. And I had to run to the bedroom. I think I was putting up a load of clothes or something while that cake cooled before I iced it. Well, I come back out, and his dear sweet little cat has parked her behind on that counter going to town on that cake. So I had to cut out sections of the cake, and Jasper sure got upset about that. But that's what messed it up. So when I went to flip it out after it had cooled and put it down so I could ice it, that sucker fell to pieces. I was like, you know what? If this wasn't in my mama's casserole dish, this whole thing would go out that back door right now. I was so stinking mad.
She just looked at me. She said, "If you want your cake, you go put the
I
icing on
said,
it."
if you want icing on it, you get you a bite off and dip it in that tub of ice and knead it together. I'm done with it. Well, I came back in, and this little redneck sweetheart. This is why I love him, y'all. I just got mad. I took my cup of coffee and I went and sat on the porch. I was like, I don't even want to look at that cake. But I come back in, and he had got out a cookie sheet and just patchwork these pieces of cake together and slopped icing all over the top of it. He made the biggest mess. I was like, "Hey, God, you put full down on that cookie sheet before you done this."
It was still good. It may have been in a freezer change, but it was still good.
Oh, I was livid. That's it, DC. That cat knows better. But it's the little autistic cat we have, so I couldn't fling her through the wall, but still. Oh, I was hot.
Yeah, they know not to make a habit of jumping on the doggone counters and this and that because they'll catch a hat, or I'll holler at them. They even look like they want to jump up there. But I got lost in YouTube watching a video, wasn't paying attention, but she was chowing down on cake. So
Yeah.
here we are. It was good.
Danae, I don't either. But that cat, for whatever reason, my mama thought I was the person to take care of that cat. And she made me promise I would take care of it and not fling it out in the backyard. So I'm scared to do that. So I take care of the cat, but I can't do it on the counter eating the cake I just baked. Yeah, I'm much more of a dog person, but I kind of got stuck with that cat and the other ones, but they don't get on the counter. So Wayne missed our food story for the night. Mm.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll go on and wrap her up. No, everybody get work week coming up. I sure do. I got to get on that phone and make a bunch of phone calls tomorrow. Get things lined out for us. And,
Back to the real world.
we should.
Oh, that was the other major praise. All his mama's test results came back from the hospital run, and she has tested out phenomenally. They didn't find anything wrong with her heart, her lungs, nothing. So,
My mama is healthier than I am. At 70,
she's
literally.
healthier than both of us put together at 78 years old. Literally. I can't believe I couldn't remember that earlier. That's how tired I am. Congrats on holding your composure. I didn't whip out the shotgun, so I'm doing good.
Thank y'all, everybody on that end. Continue praying for the ones on the prayer list. It's good to hear the praise report for the many that's able to come off of it.
Especially that baby.
Yeah.
I told Danae, you don't know what that did for my heart, hearing that about that baby.
And I guess we'll wrap it up with this. But once again, if y'all wasn't able to catch Pastor Larry and Miss Jan,
Miss Leona's video debut, y'all go show that lady some love, because she did good.
That was really awesome, y'all. Seeing that, I mean,
the whole community making that video for her, that was the sweetest thing.
She wanted to go.
I know.
But she was not able to go. And we told them what we were doing, and they were, everybody that we come up to, they were all just didn't have to ask them twice. So
we went 2 years ago in 2024, and we took, first time we'd been, of course, we met everybody for the first time. So we took a lot of selfies. And so we came back, I had all those pictures. I put them in a slideshow. And so we watch, everything we watch is on YouTube, but we got a screensaver on the TV and put pictures on it. So I got them on the screensaver. So whenever when at the rare chance we're not watching it, the screensaver comes up. And so those pictures just kind of scroll. So she enjoys, because she recognizes everybody. So she enjoys seeing those. So when we went this time, she told us that you'll take plenty of pictures so we can get some new pictures, to look at. But while we were there, I told Jan, I said, I think I'm going to see if I can get people to do a little video and put that together. So that's how it all started. So I just started asking. Matter of fact, most of it came from one time, Dirt Rooster and Elizabeth, they didn't sell anything. They just had a booth with couches and tables and stuff, chairs for people to just go hang out. That was probably the best thing. I mean, that's we've told them that we appreciate that so much. There's so many people need to just go and just crash and chill out. And so while we were standing around that's where most of those videos came from. Everybody was just gathering around, and I'd seen Bob Benny over there sitting around the table talking, and I saw some of the vendors would come. And so while we were there, I just started asking folks, and like I said, everybody was glad to do it. There's some more I wish we could have got, but that place is so massive. We just didn't run into everybody when I needed to. So, we appreciated that so much of the ones that did. And, she enjoyed that.
She's in there now watching all of us. So. That's her highlight.
Well, we sure appreciate you, Miss Leona, very much. You got to keep them videos coming, lady. I'm telling you, she did so much better than me my first time on camera.
Well, when y'all leave here in just a minute, y'all head over to Hallelujah Bee Farm, and y'all send Miss Leona some love, just the way as everybody did in that video.
That's what Danae said. We fixing to go watch her now.
Well, we really
This
appreciate
community.
everybody doing what they did because it really encouraged her.
I'm sure it did. This community never ceases to amaze me.
Thank y'all much for joining us this evening,
Yes.
Pastor Larry, Miss Jan, Miss
Very
Leona.
much.
We love you.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate the invitation.
Oh yes, sir.
That's a standing open invitation, y'all.
Well, I'll accept it.
Well, y'all just have a good week and be careful out there.
Y'all.
Y'all too. And till then, God bless you. Lord willing, we'll see y'all on the next one. Everybody
Okay.
take care.
Well, guess that's it for today. See you next time at Gunline Bees.